Welcome back to this episode of Scientifically Beautiful, and I have the privilege and the honor to welcome Gramps Morgan, who is an Grammy Award-winning artist and musician, and he also does everything from producing to directing to everything that has to do with music, and I think his best trait, along with all of that, is his heart and his spirit and how he gives back to others. So thank you, Gramps, for being on today's show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Scientifically beautiful.
He knows about science, and we're going to get into that later because he married someone that's scientifically beautiful, Annabelle. We're going to talk about her, but we were just before the show talking about something that had to do with his hair because, Gramps, do you mind putting...
Yeah. Somebody not to dreadlocks.
I asked him, I said, is this real? And then I asked him if I could touch it. He said yes. And then I asked him about it, and he was explaining to me. So I wanted him to tell the audience about his hair and how he grew his hair for 27 years and what it means.
Well, first thing, these are dreadlocks, right? The reason why they're curly like this now is because I had them twisted up like this. So I'm about to wash it because, yes, we do wash our hair. And, a lot of people, it's funny that you ask about this, Christine, because a lot of people are interested to say, how do you take care of it? And, do you wash it? And how long does it take to wash? How long does it take to dry? Well, first of all, it takes a very long time to dry. And it started off, it's not only that Jamaicans have dreadlocks, it's known in many other traditions, from the Aztec Indians to in India, different parts of Africa, but where Jamaicans got the inspiration to start dreading up their hair, other than just a cultural thing, they were warriors in Ethiopia, which were called the Falashas, which were warriors that were during the World War I, that would dread their hair to make them look more scarier, right? And so in Jamaica, during the time of, the whole Black liberation movement and people, that whole conscious during Marcus Garvey and the Harlem Renaissance, people were becoming awakening and saying, okay, Black pride and all of this stuff. So Jamaicans started to say, okay, let's dread our hair as a way of identity, right? To say, hey, we are from Africa and, but eventually we found out it wasn't only Africans that were getting dreadlocks. And today you find people in Scotland with dreadlocks, people in China with dreadlocks. So, and people have them for different reasons. Some people just have dreadlocks for, I like it, it's cool, right? Lenny Kravitz has dreadlocks and then he cut them off and he put them back on again and he cut them. So it's for different reasons. And for him, he probably just likes the hairstyle. So, but for me and a lot of other Rastafarians, it's a way of life. It's a reminder that we should take care of our body. We should live good, be kind, don't hurt any other human. Every human is equal. So it's a thing to remind you when it hits you on the side of your head, it means be good or be kind, share love.
And everyone's equal.
Yes.
I like that a lot.
So it's a reminder of what we need to remember, that equal rights and justice for all.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing. So I started with that question. I usually start with asking about your family and your life. And I know you have a huge family. He's got 2 of his sons that are actually here. And they're always welcome to come on the show too.
Yes.
But these are great men that you're raising and women. So tell us a little bit about you. And I know you're from Jamaica. The audience may not know that. Yes. You're a famous musician. The audience may have not had the opportunity. We're going to get into that too. Mm-hmm. But please tell us a little bit about how you grew up and who you are now and what is in your life.
Well, one of the most amazing things for me is this experience during the pandemic. I've really gotten a chance to reflect on my life, and I'm anxious to see those around me catch up to where I am today as a man, as a father, as a husband, because I've been given this time to reflect, to grow, and in all those spots that I didn't really have a chance to work on, because where we were before this pandemic, everybody was consumed in work, right? We would just work. And the universe said, okay, chill out, human race.
Yeah.
And let's kind of reset things a little bit. and it was hard knowing that we couldn't get toilet paper sometimes, right?
Yeah.
When you go to the
or
supermarket.
you couldn't get on a plane.
Or you couldn't get on a plane, but things are starting to open up again. But for me as a man, reflecting and, see my son graduate earlier this year and, watch him walking the same line as me as a football player that loves football and has the gift genetically to probably smash a couple people and probably make a living out of football. And then he woke up one morning and told me that he wants to do music. And I'm like, whoa.
It's like you, because you were a football player.
Exactly. And I'm like, I was mad because I was telling him to say, use your athletic gift to get an education, at least, right? Get into school, enjoy it, and get the experience. But he know what he wants to do, and he's, studying cryptocurrencies. He's coming out with an NFT with his music, and he wants to sing. So I'm like, who am I to judge?
Yeah.
Right? Because I walk the same road. And I also reflect back on my life when my younger kids, like Jamiri and Onita and Refile and Mimi were younger, and I wasn't there because I was always on tour, but was a provider. But I'm glad when I was home, I took them to Brewster's to have some ice cream as a family, right? And they remember those times, but it still wasn't enough. But for these 2 years, I've gotten a chance to be home almost every day. Yeah. So if you don't really, if your heart is not pure, even the older ones probably could be jealous of the younger ones because they're like, you're spending so much time with dad. But it's not me, it's the universe, right?
Right.
But I've been given this chance to reflect where my life is coming from, where I am now, and where I want to take it. And there's such a value on family now that we've seen. I mean, I know you've lost friends, family. We all have. Yeah. And I think for once in this lifetime that we've been given, we can all say we're on the same page, right? That we can reflect and say we have something in common. And I think with all the things that's going on in the world that has transpired for the past 2 years, from, people taking a look and putting the microscope on, the whole George Floyd situation and people talking about and addressing systematic racism and all these things. I think now we're coming together as the human race to have a conversation. Some of my friends here in Nashville are saying, Gramps, what conversations can we have? Because those conversations weren't happening before. It was like, now people that is of German descent or British descent want to know about Black history and what struggle did you guys go through. Before they didn't have to. It's not my history. Why am I going to study Black history?
Yeah. Right.
You're pressuring me here. So, but now it's a conversation that people that is from a different, what would you say, from British or European, they don't know the history. They didn't have to. It's not a curriculum in school. It's not a curriculum and it's not their thing. But now, because of what the country is going through, it is now necessary for us to have a conversation. Say, let me understand, like how we've been taught what the Jews went through in the Holocaust, and we understand that. We understand what, some of the things people are going through in North Korea, and we research because we saw it on the news and understand each other. So I think as a human race, as a species, we're headed in a great direction. I'm excited about it because we have become closer because now we're into each other now. We're like, how can, and that's exciting.
I agree with you, Gramps, because I think it's been a really chaotic experience and I always say, people ask me what my favorite countries are. I love actually India. I love different countries in Africa, the Middle East, because it's beautiful chaos, right?
Yes.
But it's been tough.
Yes.
But you come out of the end of that into something better because we only know what we know. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we all used to watch television and social media and believe everything. And now you're right. We're questioning things. Yes. We're talking to each other. Yes. We're trying to find the answers that are not just politically driven, right? Yes. And so I think you're right. I think in about 6 months, and I don't know the exact time frame, it's going to be getting considerably different. Do I think it's going to go back to normal? No. Yes. You and I talked about that. Yeah. We're not going to go back to...
I think we're going to be better off. I think we're going to have a better sense of value of the small things. Yeah. Time, showing up on time for things, spending time with your family, waking up. There's a lot of people that woke up a year ago with their husbands and wives in the bed and they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
Who's this person? Because now they're getting time to spend with each other.
They hadn't
right?
been around each other. It was difficult because I'm like you. I was used to traveling all the time, but I can't say I want to go back to that. I of course will have to travel to just like you, but to go back to being gone that many days, I'm like you. My older son is like your older kids are in the room, and I was gone all the time, and my younger ones, I'm here. And it's a much different experience.
Yeah, and I think even for the children, it makes them look at life differently, and is also preparing them for the future. I think also for corporate America and the corporate world, the whole brick and mortar thing, people are seeing that they can be more productive without a brick and mortar. Yeah. Right? Saying, okay, I'm paying, $2 million to lease this building a year, and everybody's working from Zoom. They just saved that $2 million and and they're using this Zoom platform. I mean, I think we need to buy some stock in Zoom.
I think so too. Do they sell stock? We definitely need.
I'm sure. But I think the productivity for a lot of companies is even up because people are home. They get in, they have a coffee, they come in, boom, boom, boom. They get on their Zoom, boom, 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 boom. They get right to it. They jump off. Even kids' school. The kids we're doing better on Zoom.
I think it's going to change completely, the education system. I had one of my degrees, and then even Cornell, when I went back, nutrition, we did it online, and people were criticizing it, even when I changed over to come over to Root, and now everything's online, and even Ivy League schools are online. It's just going to change completely. And I think that kids are so used to, and even me, learning quickly online or reading through something to sit in person, it's a little bit different. So we'll see some changes. But I want to ask you, because one of the things we talk about is that life is tough.
Yes.
And a lot of people see people that are famous like you, and they think he has everything. Like everything has been given to him. It's been easy. Look at the gifts he has. And they don't understand the challenges that you've gone through. So I would love for you to share with the audience. And the reason this is important that I want you to share this, I want you to share something very tough or hard that you overcame and how you overcame that, what you leaned on. Because I think a lot of people give up. Depression has been something that's gotten even worse during this time. And I don't know if it's because people are adjusting to the change, but I would love for you to share your strength and where you found it to get to where you are. Because I'm sure there had to be days where you wanted to quit, where it wasn't easy. Life's not easy, like I said.
It's not. And like I said, Christina, is where we are in this time, in this dispensation. We've been given the time, the opportunity to reflect, to value things like devotion, appreciation, and dedication, right? And that comes, that connects to your parents, your spouse, your kids. So for me, of course, the work ethic has changed, of course, because we found that productivity is up without brick and mortars or having to travel, and things are getting done more. But the biggest thing for me is my kids, It's been tough, right? I mean, you understand what I'm saying because you lived a similar life, and especially now, that you're able to be home and then like, wow, what was my life like before? Yeah. So it's a lot of self-reflection where you sit there and you say, man, if I now value it now, what was I missing before? Yeah. And are those around me, and how much did it affect my kids? Because you start to look and say, okay, this time is great. And we're out in the park and enjoying, because remember there was a point in this pandemic you couldn't even go outside unless you were going for eggs and toilet paper and sugar and milk, right? And now we're at a point. So for me, the biggest point that I struggle with was a reflection of my life and wondering, how my children were affected, how my past relationships were affected. Was I the best man, dad, brother, sister, son that I could be? Yeah. You struggle, you struggle, not really struggle, but reflect.
Well, like what cost was the job and the
Yes.
You help made other people happy by traveling everywhere, but your own family and
we're like, hey, daddy, or my son. I remember my dad calling me and was like, hey, you don't call me. And my dad is like one of my best friends, right? And sometimes it's like, I heard somebody say like this, and Christina, it's like, the work ethic. There's some people that work, and there's some people that work, right? And me and Christina, we work. And then it's people that don't understand that work ethic, and they be like, oh, you're acting like you're more busy than anyone else. We're all working. No.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's different, right? It's like, you hear about people like Puff Daddy, which is one of my, somebody I look up to as a businessman, right? And for I think he has 6 kids. And for all of his children, he has 26 people that is responsible just for his kids. After school program, go shopping, make sure their homework, and just imagine. So me and you, we're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
We need help.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm talking according to our work schedule. Like you can't stop what you're doing. You're doing such amazing things with vitamins and research. And how can we afford for Christina to stop? Because you're helping to do God's work, right? You know how many people that need the medicine that you're creating? So how can me or your husband say, no, come on, Christina, come over for some jerk chicken. Forget about your work.
I should have gone over for that jerk chicken. No, but and you're married to some, Annabelle's the same way.
Yes.
She works.
Oh, she goes. And
I know her. She works.
Yes.
And it's a different thing. And then I used to be very proud of that. And now I have to be honest, going back to your thoughts, I think, was it worth it? And that's why I think humility comes to me, just to be honest. I have this, people will say, well, you're humble. Of course, because I've let so many people down. And as much of a bright light it may be here, something sacrifices for that, right? Absolutely. So, but you have to look at what your mission is overall, I think. And you had this mission to touch lives, Gramps, and you have. And you're touching even my daughter. Gramps helps my daughter, Marinella, with singing, and he's been a gift, and I've recognized it because Merritt has more confidence. Yes. I think even more than music. I think music is very important, but I'm sure you know this. You've got 2 boys here that you love more than anything, all your kids. You want them to be happy. You know what I mean? You want them to have good lives and be better than you even. Yes. And that doesn't mean a better musician. It means to be more evolved and developed to serve. And I love when you talk about your hair, because that's a great reminder to serve and to treat people good.
That's correct. Yeah. And it's just I love it. As it's a reminder of how you should, because your body's a temple too, right? Yeah. So you find that a lot of Rastafarians don't eat meat, not necessarily because it's not good, because, there was a point when I had great beef, Like, you ever had a great steak? You ever had a great steak, people? It's delicious. But I chose that consciously for the past 27 years not to eat meat. When my first son was born, I decided I had to be around for him, right? Because now I'm responsible. It's not a dog or a cat, right? Yeah. And I love dogs. Yeah. Shout out to Midnight,
Yeah. So, I love dogs too, but they're not humans. I understand.
So we're talking about human life. So when Jameer was born, it was like, I got to do the best thing possible to be around for him. And now, all of my other kids, especially now, one of my biggest projects now for me is to, I got my first grandbaby. So I'm like, okay, yeah. So it's like, okay, I got to preserve myself. And then my son Priel, that's a singer, he's over here. I gotta be
Priel needs to come and say hi. The boys do before we get on.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to prepare his journey, his life road, because he's gonna need me. And then, like, up to this morning, I was speaking to him and saying, I can't afford, and we can't afford, Christina, for our children to make the same mistakes that we did.
No, I say the same thing. Yes. I made major mistakes. Yeah. And a lot of it, I do believe, was from me not being present. I was not great in relationships. I was gone. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm sure it was hard to be in a relationship with me. Do you know what I mean? Because it was hard for me to be present. I had all this, and I always knew that this was this mission that I was looking, and to me, my kids, it was were so important. I was like you. Once I had a child, Duquesne was my oldest. My life changed. My importance, the mission, what I need to do. But other things went on the back burner, right? Even time with them. And so it's interesting when I talk to people, I actually gravitate not to people that are successful, but to people that have had a journey that I can talk to and learn from. And then I'm like you. I want our kids to learn from what we did and somehow adjust things maybe a little bit so that they understand never to let other people feel left out.
That's correct. So. In our culture, and I'll share it with you, we say in the Jamaican culture, we say experience teach it wisdom. Yep. And you cannot gain wisdom without experience. But I was able to crack the code when growing up, always hearing that experience teaching wisdom is like what I did. Like my older brothers was like, ooh, when you guys graduate high school, you're going to get in trouble with daddy. Watch. And I said, okay. And for the last year of high school, I watched everything my older brother did wrong. And I said, check. I was just taking notes. I make sure I don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's why I don't.
And then God said, "Let me teach you another lesson." Then
and then I still had to learn my own lessons. But out of that, I've learned not to smoke. That was one of my biggest things. I don't smoke cigarettes, marijuana. Never have. Yeah. Never had a desire to smoke. And some people are shocked because they're like, okay, you're a reggae artist and you're just to show you the whole stereotype that comes with, we perceive one thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So when we perceive a certain thing, it's like, okay, boom, every Italian is the mafia.
Yeah.
Right? And every Colombian is a drug dealer. So it's good, right? It's perception of life. It is, yeah. And I think that's another thing in the pandemic that we're learning to just relax a little bit. Reach out and say to someone that, and hence my new solo album, Positive Vibration, how it came about. Here it's me. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was invited to a hockey game. Go Preds, right?
That's right. Go Preds.
So I went to the hockey game. Normally, you're not going to see a guy like me at the hockey game, right? Because it's not our thing. Not because I never tried it but I'm a football guy. I love the NBA, right? And I said, all right, let me try this hockey thing. And actually, I went out for the hockey team in junior high school.
They're pretty tough, the hockey players. Let's be honest.
Well, let me tell you something. I've learned to respect the sport of hockey.
Yeah.
Because I took a chance and went to see what is this hockey thing about? And let me tell you something. It's one of the toughest sports. I mean, guys are losing their teeth and getting broken nose because, and I'm like, and out of that.
I like it because they fight for each other. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm like, I've always been this person about loyalty and defending people. And they literally will go to
the end.
To the end for their teammate. Yep. So I have to tell you, I love hockey because of that.
I fell in love with hockey. You see, and this happened in the pandemic. Just imagine that.
Yeah, because you didn't even have time to go to stuff like that.
Come on.
Like people used to ask me, did you do this, X, Y, and Z? I'm like, no, I had.
And it wasn't my go-to, right?
Yeah.
But out of that came me meeting Johnny Reed, right? Which is an incredible songwriter here in Nashville, one of the top songwriters here in the city. And if you know, this is Music City. If you don't know about Nashville, it's called Music City, the same way Las Vegas is called Sin City. So we're known for music.
And healthcare.
And healthcare.
I'm going to speak for me and for Annabelle.
Yes. The top healthcare in the U.S., I think.
In the United States.
And
but it is known for its music.
Yes. But I was able to learn and just go outside my box. And here it is, I met this man from Scotland, now living in Nashville, Tennessee, plays amazing guitar and writes amazing songs. And he invited me to his studio over in Berry Hill, which is a very famous part of town where a lot of historical studios are. And out of that meeting him, he invited me because we both got a little bored at the hockey game. He was like, oh, mate, I got to get out of here, man. I got to get out of here. I was like, all right. And then we went to the side. He said, hey, give me your number. We exchanged numbers, and I went to his studio that just was restored by Randy Scruggs' family. He passed away, rest in peace, and to Randy Scruggs and his condolences again to the Scruggs family, which is like country music royalty, right?
Yeah.
And Johnny Reed restored the studio, I came by and I was interested just to hold the microphones that he had that Willie Nelson sang on in all these great countries. I said, can I just hold these mics?
Oh, yeah.
I got to the studio and he played a song for me called Runaway Bay. And I'm like, Runaway Bay. And I said to him, that's my song. And it was a song that he had written and had, but he never put it out. And then before you know it, I come back to the studio a week later. We record one song. He said, let's do some writing. And one of the things I wanted to do, Christina, is become a better songwriter during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't planned, but I said at some point of my life, I want to be able to sit down and strengthen my songwriting skills, right? Because everyone thinks their songs are great, but when you have a professional songwriter, trust me, it's a night and day situation.
I've heard that.
These people do it for a living. They're not artists, they're songwriters. They make
and
hits.
They're really good.
And they're really good. And I always wanted that. And country music is a big genre in the Caribbean, which a lot of people didn't know. And I'm kind of bringing that to light.
Oh, that's great.
So a lot of people don't know. And I said to him, man, we have more in common than we think. And people try to put up borders and walls between us and try to make it seem like we're all different. We're not very much different. And I learned that through my new solo album, Positive Vibration, just putting it together, meeting Johnny Reed. Here's a Scottish man and here's this Jamaican guy living in Nashville, Tennessee, right? You know, America's a melting pot.
It is.
A beautiful culture from so many different, the Indians, the Asians. And I met Johnny Reed, right? Scottish man. And we're making magic.
Positive vibrations.
Positive vibration.
And you're touring with that, right?
I did a little bit of touring, a couple of things. We plan to do a couple album releases just to celebrate the album and life, and really wanting mine and Johnny Reed's relationship to be a light to the world. You know, that it can show you two different people from two different walks of life, two different countries come together in Nashville, Tennessee, and make this incredible album, one of my best work to date. When you talk about the production quality, it was just like nothing I've ever done before. So I'm really excited for people to discover this album. Those who haven't heard it yet, you have friends, and it wasn't even planned.
So it's released.
It's
right?
released. The album is out now on all digital platforms, and there was no plans. It was touring as usual with my band Morgan Heritage, which is my family band.
And you took the zero in.
And I'll tell you that story. Can I tell that story?
I thought Clayton was teasing me when he told me that.
I'm going to tell you that story. But let me finish about Positive Vibration. When putting together the album, I really just called upon friends to say, hey, I'm working on a project. And, so I called India.Arie, was on the album. My dad is on the album. My son, Jamiri, is on the album. You've met Jamiri, my oldest son. He does music. And Shaggy is also on the album. It was Mr. Lovo. And so it was a family and friends project. And before you know it, we had an album.
At Root, we're trying to clean out the body. So we're trying to take the waste out. And then we're also trying to supplement, because once you clean the cell and clean the body, you've got to put the right things into the body. We are a company dedicated to non-GMO, vegan, clean products, organic, and I think this is very important when we're developing products. One of my favorite products is Root Clean Slate. And so I want you guys to think about, when you write on a whiteboard, if you write on it all day, if you don't wipe that whiteboard off, then it's dirty. So with this Zeolite product, we're able to really clean the slate, get rid of things, and start over. So we have a product called Zero In. This particular product is able to really help people focus by affecting the neurotransmitters of the brain. It's also able to help people with just daily life and energy levels. We used a lot of ingredients in this particular formula, a lot of natural ingredients, amino acids that the body really needs. So if you look at our first round of products and then what we're coming out with, you really are going to have something that you use on a daily basis. Just like pharmaceutical and biotech, we are a nutraceutical company, because our goal is not to end today. Our goal is to have a bright future where we help people daily. Your body needs a foundation, and it needs a strong foundation, and that's what we're giving people.
It's gradually released into the system.
Gradually released it. And so I didn't feel it right away. So I'm still like, oh God, I need some energy. And all of a sudden, while I was on stage, into about my third song, I just felt like it was a sunrise. My body just went like this. Yeah. And it was like the perfectly tuned 440 hertz. And remember, I was booked to do an hour performance, and I ended up performing for 2.5 hours. And I was like, this is on tape, people. You can go on YouTube and see pieces of it, that when I'm walking off the stage and I'm like, good night. And it was a song, I was closing the show with a song called The Almighty. I praise the Almighty. I wouldn't and try. And I'm singing, I'm leaving the stage, and then I run back on the stage, and the crowd goes nuts because they think the show is over. And I end up performing for another 20 minutes.
We need to get that show, Preston, and show
I'm going to try to hunt a piece for that for you, and just let you see the energy that was. It was incredible. So thank you, Clayton, wherever you are, for letting me get a little package of the Root Zero in, because it really, my focus.
I want Annabelle to take it too. You got to tell her, because for me, when I'm doing patents or doing research, he's got a beautiful wife that is a PhD researcher that I want to collaborate on a CBD product with, because that's her expertise. Yes. Beautiful, looks like a model, and she is an amazing athlete like you, and then an amazing scientist. Yes. But it helps me focus when I'm trying to write things.
Yes, she's something else, as a mom, as a wife, as a expert in her field. She's a cell and developmental biologist, and she, by having that gift and sacrificing herself, because you and Annabelle, you guys sacrifice yourself, really, let's be frank here, from school and spending time away from your kids. But what happened with our son, she was able to lean upon cannabis, and what happened with Macario, he was having uncontrollable seizures at the age of, he was less than 6 weeks, right? And he was having them at birth. The first day I came from the hospital, I saw that. And we went back to the hospital, and long story short, she was able to go into the lab because of her training and sacrifice of school, and create something for him, to help him. And this was after the surgery, and she created a product called Messiah CBD, and which means happy in the Filipino language, called Tagalog. And she created this formula, and it changed his life. She saved our son, and I'm thankful for her making that sacrifice to go to school for 17 years,
for your son.
For our son, that it came and was, that skill set was able to help our son. But that was just one dimension of what she does, right? To use cannabis, because she dived deep into it. But there's a world of things that she does, like you guys are like my superwoman, super friend, hero friends, right? But well, she's doing research in Manchester, and Annabelle's like me, so she'll make a product. This happened to us this weekend. We had all these people posted something that said, I made a product that cured cancer. I said, I never said I cured cancer. Oh my God. Because they'll hear a story where we are able, Annabelle, to help through things that we've worked on. We don't claim that we're curing. We claim that we're helping people to be the best they can be, and it's God's miracle. And I really believe that, and I know you all do too. But she's got a very special gift, and thank you for bringing that up, because when you save one person or help one person's life, I think through music or sports or science, because there's a lot of ways. I tell my kids this all the time. I told my daughter this weekend. There's a lot of ways to save people or help people or empower people, right? But when you do that, it doesn't mean it will work for everyone, because we don't control every decision in the world, and we don't control everybody's bodies. But I think between you and Annabelle, the impact you make to people's lives, and I mean that sincerely, everybody I introduce you all to, or I meet they're just so nice. They're so good. My own son, Preston, came home. Ella is always telling me how kind you all are. And it's a testimony to your
to your promise to yourself 27 years ago. Yes. No, I mean that you have. None of us are perfect, but you've taken this mission and this journey very serious so that you can make the most out of every day of your life. And Gramps, that's amazing.
Yes, we are here to serve the people, right? We're servants. We're public servants, right? Yeah. You're in the field of medicine and science, and what are you going to do with these skill sets? And I tell people, it doesn't cost anything to be kind, people. Yeah. It's not like you're going to go into Walmart and say, can I have 2 pounds of kindness, please? No. You have to have that. It has to be a self-inborn concept, your mindset. And that's what I love about learning about different cultures. I learned about Buddhism and study it and learn a little bit and learn about Islam and study, the Judaism, and because the world is bigger than just one thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thought process or one belief. I say the same thing. It's to put everything in a box does not work. Yes. And I think you're right. The pandemic has brought people together that normally wouldn't be together.
That's correct.
So I know that we have to end because of our time, but I want to tell you thank you. And I don't think you can sing because it's part of your album, right? You can't release it. But I did want to introduce my son and your sons, but I don't know where your other son is.
Yeah, where's Priel? Oh, nice. He's probably making money. Bring the money, Priel. We need it.
Do you guys want to come say hi? I've been talking. Okay, they I don't think they want. I always want people to know that our kids are the brightest part. I think of our lives. They're I think that who knows what your kids will all do, whether they'll be in music or not music.
Music,
and Bitcoin.
Education, sports, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. The future is here, people.
Cooking. Can someone be a chef?
Oh, yeah, because I love food.
I love food, too. That's why I said that.
Yeah, we're foodies. I think food has been a big staple also in the pandemic because it brings people together. If you talk about Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving, family reunion, you hear about things like that. Food is the centerpiece. Yeah. And then it's music. And then we're going to have to need medicine the morning after. Yeah.
That's right. I have a product called Clean Spirits that helps get rid of that.
Yes.
We have to try it.
Yeah, so
anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're a gift, and I know you're famous. I never feel like you're famous when I'm with you. You have to be honest because we're
friends and family.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get to see you guys New Year's again.
Absolutely.
We're trying. Everyone keeps contacting me and saying that they had fun last year because we all just. Yeah, Annabelle and I were like the worst at the game. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Annabelle was like, Christina, we're not going to be good at this game.
And it was so fun. I know everybody was like pre-pandemic. That was right before the mask thing got kind of crazy. But it was so good to be over at your home and just enjoy that. And because we can all stay in our little spaces and be like, but what does that do? What does that accomplish? What is that? And to be with friends and celebrate life. It's
I feel great because you and Annabelle kind of share the same life as we've talked about. Mm-hmm. So I could not see you all for 3 or 4 months, and I just feel blessed every time I see you. And I also feel a non-judgment zone. Like sometimes I feel so guilty when I see people because I'm like, I know I haven't seen them for a while, but with you all, you're all over the place.
We know it's the same thing. Yeah. It's reciprocal, right?
Yeah.
It's like we know. I know. It's been crazy for you. It's like so. Once you have that mentality, dude. There's no time to, and that's what I was talking about earlier, where I say when we know how hard we work. And then there's other people that you got work people and then you have work. And it's those people that is not on that work level that's like, oh, you don't call me. I'm sorry, it's just been crazy. I'm trying to build a empire for us, right?
Yeah.
To make things easier.
And the guilt doesn't really help.
Yeah.
The guilt treatments for my personality aren't very.
And you're trying to make people understand, especially friends and family, but it's no love lost. It's just that it's a busy time.
I want to ask you this, and I know we probably are supposed to already end and they may cut us off and not show this part, but your family from Jamaica, are they all musicians, Gramps? Because I saw at your wedding all these famous people that were there, but then your own family had a presence, I felt like, that was bigger than life, if that makes sense. You can always kind of feel the energy. I tell people, if you ever want to know what's going on, just close your eyes and feel the energy. Yes. You'll know something's good. You'll know something's bad. So are they famous, or what is your daddy?
My father had a huge hit in 1981 called I'll Do Anything for You. His name is Gramps Morgan. So he had a record that exploded. He was one of the first Jamaican reggae artists to really explode upon the scene before Shabba Ranks, before Shaggy and Beanie Man and all these great artists. And it was a time of when Bob Marley had passed away in 1981. My father got one of his biggest hit records in the United States.
Oh, wow.
And so we growing up seeing him going on tour with Frankie Beverly and Maze and all these artists.
Did you get to go on tour with him?
I didn't get to go, but my younger brother in Morgan Heritage, Mojo, he was, because Mojo used to dance like this, and everybody used to look at him and was like, whoa, this guy's a star. And my dad took him on tour, and he had on this little blue suit with ruffle feathers. You ever see those ruffle shirts? When's the last time you seen a ruffle shirt?
Not Michael Jordan, Jackson. They used to kind of pick
exactly.
up. Yeah.
That's how they had my little brother dressed in a little blue suit. He's huge now, but he was the only one that went on tour with my father as a child, and he was also performing. And then we became very famous in 1998 after the journey of the music business. But around 1998, we had a record that exploded. So between our family, they call us the royal family of reggae music.
And so you guys probably all work in the industry somehow, or share, because it seems like your family is like everyone's a part of each other's lives, which I have to say I love, because that's how I want my family to. Yes, family's the most important.
Family is good. It can be good and then stressful, and it can be, and I tell people this: not all of your family are your friends, and not all of your friends are family. Right, because there's some people
but there are some friends that are like family, that if you needed them, they'd be there. And there's some family that wouldn't be there if you needed them. And I agree with you. That's a great way to say. Yeah. That's a great way to say that.
And we can never choose our families. This is what you get, right?
Yeah.
But God bless the thing and the energy called love.
Yeah.
Because that's the most important. And I've learned that I'm blessed. I have an amazing family. I have sisters that are in the medical field as well, and doing incredible at Emory in Atlanta. And and they've gone to school for a long time as well. I have another sister that has her PhD in education at St. John's University in New York. So my father, when he came to this country, he always believed, because he dropped out of school in 4th grade, and he said, if there's anything that I'm going to change in my life for my kids, is to make sure they get an education. And he did that. So as well as we know our native tongue, our language, we speak English very proper. You can understand me.
Oh, yeah, but when your family was together at your wedding, I didn't understand it. You guys were talking, and I was like, what? Yeah. But I'm used to that because of traveling. Yeah, like when I go into different tribes, I've met kings and different, they all have their different languages.
Of course.
And I just kind of sit there and try to understand what they're saying.
And that's what makes the world beautiful,
Oh, yeah.
And it makes you who you are, because you've experience different cultures, different countries, your own culture, and able to see that, hey man, this is such a beautiful world.
Yeah.
You go to Mexico, you see their culture, you go to China, and
and people are good everywhere. I got to tell you the one last thing before we get off, and I think you'll agree with me. We have all these thoughts, like we're taught like this country like is bad. Like I'll give you an example, Lebanon or Syria. But then when I go there, people are very nice to me. And I just want to say there are good people everywhere, despite what people think. Absolutely. Like they'll think Russia, China. I've been to those countries as well. It's not like everyone in those countries are bad. It hurts me actually to hear people say, well, we hate China or we hate Russia. And I'm like,
taught that.
We're taught
it's a systematic thing. And we gotta, if it's anything that we've learned out of this pandemic, is that we cannot lean upon just what you see on the television.
No.
Go and see it for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I think people are discovering and saying, hey, man, you're amazing. I didn't know. Yeah. Oh, you're different than I thought. And hence my new album, Johnny Reed. And then even working on a project, Christina, we were like, what are we going to call this album? Because it was just a bunch of great songs. And we said, man, we just want people to stay positive And he said, positive vibration.
I like it a lot.
And I was like, all right.
I'm a nanotechnologist. We talk about vibrations and frequencies all the time.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
We do. We live in a world of energy between energy. I mean, it's real. Yeah. It's real. So thank you, Gramps, so much.
Thank you for having me.
So this is the end of the episode. I could talk to him forever, but his kids are here, which I could keep calling them kids. They're men.
Yeah, they're getting big. Yeah. One of my babies, Divine, if you guys see him, he's getting big, and you know, he's grown. These kids don't stay long fast. Yeah. So enjoy your kids, people.
Enjoy it.